Loman. I'm going to show you how I make a twister bowl, as I call it. We'll start at the beginning with the gluing and show you all the steps in between. So the first step here is to cut all your pieces. What I did here is these are about 2 inches, and then I cut for this trim piece for each intersection of wood. I put a black wingy piece in there, and I started out this process with on the computer kind of laid out the colors, and it somewhat looks like this, but not totally. I changed things as I was going. I literally was taking different pieces of wood and moving it, over here, just to try to find the most pleasing color scheme. And so I spent quite a bit of time, half an hour maybe, of just kind of moving wood around and finding a combination that I like. And so this is what I ended up with right here. So these pieces are 12 and a half or so long and 2 inches this way. So the goal here is to make the whole bowl with this wood here. So the first step after I did all the sanding and cutting will be to start gluing these sections up. I'll glue it in several sections, and because if I try to glue everything across here, glue would be drying at the pieces I started with at the beginning here. So I gotta do it in small chunks, like maybe that big or so. And so that's next. We'll start gluing up sections. A little gluing up here. Alright, so I have my first section glued up here, and we'll let that dry. We'll start our next one. So I'm down to my last glue up here. So I have these 3 pieces here, like that section, and then I got 2 of these, one for each side, and then of course the wingy in between. So it's going to end up pretty close to 12 and a quarter by 12 and a quarter, maybe slightly under that, and about 1.9 thick here. So I lost a tiny bit of my height, but that's to be expected after gluing and sanding. And so I'll glue this up, let it dry for a day, and then I'll start cutting out the panels from it. Alright, so it's all glued up now, so we'll let that dry for a bit and sand it, and then let it sit for a day. So right now it's square, and it's 12 and 3/16 each way. So I'm going to let this dry up until tomorrow morning, and then I'm going to start cutting out the panels here, so then I can get the rings cut out of the panels. So that's next.
This is my third panel now. I need 3 more. Shouldn't be a problem to get it out of this rest of it. So. My board's cut out. I ended up getting a 7th board. I need 6. I left this one a little thicker than the rest, about 0.23 or so. And then the other ones that I'm using are 0.15 thick. I want to keep them thin because I don't want to have my bowl too high up here. So I'm glad I got 7 and I didn't get 5. 5 is a bad thing if you get, so 7's good. Anyway, we'll cut our design, or put our circles on here next, and we'll show you how you do that, and then we'll start cutting the rings out. Panels is cut out the rings. Got here in front of you is the spreadsheet that I have. Actually, I've modified it, but it was Denny Edwards who first created it, and then I did my thing on it. So, what you got going on here, you have 40 on the top, and you have 1 on the bottom here. So what this is saying is, 1, you want your OD at 2.5 inches. So this column here is just telling you how high your bowl is going to be, how tall. And then the stuff in the red here, and green and blue, what that's telling me is this red here is board number 3. And board number 3 is going to have 3-inch OD, 4.5, 6, all the way up to 12. So my task here is to take this spreadsheet and transfer that onto each of the panels. So I've labeled each panel here with its corresponding panel number 4. So this is going to be board 4, panel 4, and I've set the square, or the center, excuse me, there. So on board 4, it says the first one is 3 1/4 OD. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark that 4 1/4 on the OD here, and we'll show you that. So panel number 4, I said, was the first one is 3 1/4. So half of 3 1/4 is 1/5 1 5/8 would work. Yep. So just use my ruler and set 1 5/8 on here. At least as close as I can get it with this. This isn't exact, it doesn't have to be exact, but it's fairly close. So I've got the center marked. Just make the first one here. I'll double check it, make sure that we've got the right size here, and it looks like it's 3 1/4 here. And so board 4, first one is 3 1/4. So that first one works. And then what I'll do is I'll mark it as such. So 3 1/4 is, which board? 3 1/4 is number 4. So this is row 4 here. Then the next one on this panel 4 is 4 3/4. So that's 2 3/8 will be the radius. So mark 2 3/8. Set it up 2 3/8. Now, give you kind of a sanity check when you're doing this, is each ring will be 3/4 of an inch in difference between the ID internal and OD, outer diameter here. So you can just kind of look at this and say, yeah, that's about 3/4 of an inch here. You know, and I can double check it, and it, yeah, lines up nicely there. And then, so 4 3/4 is what it measures here. So just double check your work. So 4 3/4 is ring number 10. And also, just so you know, here is there's 6 panels. So with this 3/4, that means you add 4 or 6, excuse me, 6, because there's 6 panels to the next one, and it should be 4 plus 6 is 10. So that's another sanity check you can do here to know you're on track. Now the next one is 6 1/4. So 3 1/8 will be our radius. So you set that 3 1/8. So find the center, mark it, and you can see once again it looks like it's about 3/4 of an inch bigger than the other one. And then you add 6 to the 10, it should be number 16. You can verify number 16's OD is 6 1/4, and you got it. And you just keep doing it like this. So I'm going to finish her up, and we'll talk about cutting them out next. So I got all the circles all drawn out now according to the plan. So next phase will be to drill a tiny little hole here with a scroll saw. Then I will cut the outside ring here, and we'll get going on that. So we'll start cutting the rings out here. There's the first one cut out of the 39. I get the luxury of having this little centering piece here, so I'll use that to my advantage and glue it on with that center. First I'll get some glue on. Get it spread out. We're on. I got row 2 and row 3, and you notice I haven't cut the centers out of it. So for row 1 through 6, I just leave them solid as a disc, and what I'll do is when I get it all glued on and dried up, I'll just use my tool to kind of dig into it however much I want to dig in. One of the things we need to figure out though is how much of a twist do we want here. And what I mean by that here is this. So however I do this, I want to have it the same amount every time. So I just kind of look at it and say, okay, well, what do I want? You know, here's no twist at all right there, basically on top of each other. But then I twist it this much, you know, how far do I want to go? I like to have something on the rings that I can kind of go to each time. So I'm thinking that what I'm going to do here is twist it that much, quite a bit of twist, So I'll line this purple one here on this line here on the outer yellow here, and this purple here on the outer yellow also. So if I do that every time, then it'll have the same amount of twist each time using that reference point, this purple here. And so that's what I'm going to try to do. That's all I needed to do, drill a little tiny hole, put the scroll saw blade into that, and cut the ring. I have row 7 now, and row 8. So what I like to do is, like I've talked about, glue them off the lathe in pairs. It's so much easier to line them that way. So I make sure I get the right amount of twist on it, and make sure it's centered. So you have to watch 2 things, 3 things really. The amount of twist, centered, and if you're twisting it the right way. What I'm doing is a clockwise motion as you're looking from the big to little. So you clockwise like that. That's what I'm trying to do. And all right, that's ring number 10. Helps to have a lot of clamps when you're gluing these up in pairs. Okay, I got the last top row on there gluing. I got it pressed in and clamped. So I'll let that dry overnight, and in the morning we'll start lathing.